Versatile Mage. Chapter 6. Natural Dual Element 2. Within the empty spiritual world was a little bit of light. Mo Fan carefully tried to focus his awareness on it. Suddenly, he noticed a tiny bit of stardust emerging from the void. Mo Fan felt a burst of excitement. This stardust was extremely important to mages. It measured the mage's cultivation. The stardust existed within the spiritual world of mages, and the more that occupied the void, the stronger the power of the mage. Mo Fan already saw something illuminated within the stardust. It looked like a small, purple-colored star cluster. Comparing it to the rest of the spiritual world, the cluster did not look like dust. At the same time, this meant that his awakening had not failed. The book clearly stated that as long as there was a star cluster within the spiritual world, no matter how weak and feeble it was, it meant that the awakening was successful. Ha 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 ha. Who said that I, this father, would fail the awakening? Didn't I succeed? I really want to see the aghast faces of Zhao Kunsen and Mu Bai. Hold on, what's the color of the star cluster? It's not red. How unfortunate. I didn't awaken the fire element. Red represents the fire element. Green represents the wind element. Brown represents the earth element. Blue represents the water element. Gold represents the light element. Purple represents... Holy crap. Suddenly, Mo Fan was completely flabbergasted. Purple. He actually had the purple star cluster. The purple color. Heavens. Someone in the class next to us awakened the lightning element. On the training ground, a student suddenly cried out in surprise. What? Lightning element appeared. Damn. That's a whole lifetime's worth of luck. Where? Whoa. What a dazzling and ruthless purple. The homeroom teacher of class 7 must have been quite surprised. Ugh. Kill me already. Why am I water element? Why didn't I get the lightning element? Don't stop me. I'm going to the roof. Don't bother jumping. You won't die. Beneath it lies the corpse of a light element user. This lightning element student will cause an uproar throughout the entire school. After the lightning element appeared, everyone felt a shocking sensation. If one said the fire element was the first choice of all the common mages, then the lightning element was the beautiful grace bestowed from the heavens. The lightning power was more tyrannical than the fire element. It allowed primary rank magicians to possess combat prowess that exceeded others. According to statistics from the teachers, there was a 50% chance for students who awakened the lightning element to become intermediate-level magicians, unless they slacked off and did not study properly. The Magic Middle School exam basically eliminated roughly 60% of the students. The remaining 40% became students who were allowed to go through the awakening. Among the students who went through the awakening, there might be around 60% who were eliminated. This was because during their 3 years at the Magic High, there was a chance that they would not be able to release any magic at all. There's 1,500 students in school, but only one student who awakened the lightning element. This went to show how rare the lightning element was. In that moment, all the teachers and students' eyes flew toward the boy in class 7. This boy, coincidentally, wore purple clothes. This made the indistinct purple lightning arc from the awakening seem increasingly dazzling. In that moment, this seemingly confident, yet cold, boy became the focal point for 1,000 people as he gave rise to a boiling excitement from the crowd. Whoa! Why is it so noisy? Mo Fan slowly opened his eyes, his face filled with joy. However, as Mo Fan opened his eyes, he discovered the teacher who was watching over him was completely enchanted with the class next to them. Mo Fan turned his head around and saw the students behind him also looking at the class next to them. What's going on? Where are you guys looking? Soon enough, Mo Fan finally found out what was happening. Apparently, a person in the class next to his had awakened the lightning element. In the instant of Mo Fan's awakening, the teachers' and students' gazes were directed toward the lad who awakened just before him. Mo Fan's face was filled with bitterness as he looked at the awakening stone, which was also leaping with a purple lightning arc. He really wished he could just slap the homeroom teacher across the face and tell him, Why are you envying the guy in the class next to ours? Look at me. I also possess the almighty lightning element. As Mo Fan was about to speak, a starry radiance suddenly lit up again on the awakening stone. It was as though blood vessels began forming on Mo Fan's hands. Mo Fan's face filled with surprise. Wasn't the awakening over? Why was this awakening stone starting up again? Mo Fan wanted to retract his arm, but the magic power had already been transmitted into his body from his palm. Fiery hot. A fiery hot power. Mo Fan himself had no idea what was happening. However, a small part of the power urged him to once again spread his awareness into his spiritual world and perceive the second power's invasion. Within the empty spiritual world, the purple star cluster remained in the same area, sparkling with a faint radiance. Seeing this made people eager to see it dazzle and bloom more brightly. This was the star cluster of the lightning element, the power he had awakened only moments ago. The other power from the awakening charged in like the lightning element. Within Mo Fan's spiritual world was a blazing arc streaking across like a burning meteor, causing Mo Fan to tremble. This is. Within his spiritual world emerged a red star cluster. Mo Fan was at a loss in the beginning, but he soon felt an excessive joy. Fire element. He had also awakened a fire element. Unexpectedly, he had dual elements. He had actually awakened dual elements. One had to understand that among the primary ranked magicians, students could only awaken a single element. Someone who could awaken dual elements was practically non-existent. The probability of it was 1,000,000 times lower than awakening the lightning element. Heavens! Mo Fan felt like he was suddenly knocked unconscious with happiness. The appearance of the lightning element had made him go wild with joy. With the fire element emerging, and becoming a natural dual element user, he felt like he was about to cry from such intense joy. After acquiring the knowledge surrounding magic, Mo Fan was very clear on the fact that having an additional element signified that he'd be one step ahead of others, despite the fact that the cultivation of the elements would need to be independent of each other. It was like an online game. The people on the server were only allowed to create one account and bitterly battled against monsters to level up. Whereas he himself could create 2 accounts. The most important factor to this was that he could combine the 2 accounts and have it on a single character, so his combat prowess would be more than 1 + 1 = 2. This is too good. I have a natural dual element. One that was the heaven-shattering lightning element, while the other was the ferocious fire element. Who could stop me at this point? The guilt over his father selling his house and being humiliated was cleansed in that moment. Mo Fan was very clear on the fact that if he put great effort into cultivating the 2 elements, then he would become a magician who would stand above the others at the same level. Who cared about the Mu family with 100 years of heritage? Who cared about the ice element family? Is that as amazing as the dual element that your father, I, am in possession of? Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 7. Green Tea Man. Really? Ugh. Why wasn't this student assigned to my class? Instead, he was placed in Zhang Jianguo's hands. From today onward, Zhang Jianguo's face will be filled with pride. Zhu Musheng's face was twisted with envy and jealousy. At the front of the room, Mu Bai's expression shifted from shock to gloom and disdain. The lightning element was extraordinary, but without proper cultivation, its wielder would remain a loser. In a populous country like China, the emergence of a strong element wasn't unheard of. It wasn't as if the guy was a natural dual element user. Humph! How dare he steal my limelight? Just wait, I'll trample him flat in the future. Oh! I almost forgot to check what element this dreg awakened. The awakening took so long. It must have failed. Whoa, it's a fire element. This is serious. Our class has another fire element. Who said he would fail his awakening? Turns out he awakened the fire element. I'm so envious. After the commotion over the lightning element subsided, everyone finally noticed the element Mo Fan had awakened. The girl Jo Min, who had awakened the fire element earlier, looked surprised. She leaned closer to Mo Fan and confirmed that flames were indeed sprouting from the awakening stone, flames even more intense than her own. Another fire element in Class 8. Though not as rare as the lightning element, the fire element is still incredible. Fire element. Zhu Musheng stared blankly at the student before him. The lightning element's appearance had nearly made Zhu Musheng forget about this troublemaker. Initially, he assumed Mo Fan would fail his awakening. Never did he expect the boy to succeed, and awaken the prestigious fire element, no less. This is another treasure. Judging by the flame's intensity, Mo Fan's talent might even surpass Zhou Min's. Zhu Musheng never imagined that the student he'd dismissed as a liability would end up making him proud. Not bad at all. What's your name? Oh, Mo Fan, right. Zhu Musheng grinned so widely his eyes nearly disappeared. Yeah. Mo Fan nodded. Mo Fan had assumed everyone noticed his lightning element awakening. But after scanning the room, he realized no one had paid attention to it. Either the other lightning element awakening was too shocking, or my own was too weak. The initial pressure from an awakening mattered, but it wasn't decisive. Even if the early manifestation was weak, diligent cultivation could strengthen it over time. Fire element student. Strive to do well in the future. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me, Zhu Musheng said cheerfully, patting Mo Fan's shoulder. Mo Fan was thrilled but refused to let it cloud his judgment. Any other youth might have flaunted their natural dual elements to steal the spotlight, but Mo Fan knew better. If the heavens envy geniuses, how would mortals react? Mo Fan was aware of the Mu family's hostility toward him. Revealing his dual elements now would force him into compliance, or worse, paint a target on his back. Though he possessed peerless talent, he was still too weak. There'll be time to go wild once I'm stronger. He glanced at Mu Bai and Zhao Kunsen. As expected, their faces twitched with barely concealed frustration. What kind of luck does this kid have? Not only did he awaken successfully, but he got the fire element too. Mu Bai seethed inwardly, though his outward demeanor remained composed. What the heck? Fire element? How? Zhao Kunsen muttered in disbelief. Ha, I told you, Brother Mo Fan isn't normal. Fire element? Impressive, truly impressive. Who cares about your wind element now? Zhao Kunsen. Zhang Hao crowed, relishing the henchman's resentment. Zhao Kunsen's face darkened. In a direct comparison, a primary ranked wind element was no match for fire. Mo Fan turned, basking in the sunlight with an unbridled grin. For a moment, it felt as if the ground beneath him rolled out like a red carpet, complete with imaginary cheers. As he passed Mu Bai, Mo Fan subtly flipped him off, the gesture smooth enough to pass as a casual greeting. Mu Bai felt the full force of the insult. His breathing grew ragged, as if he were about to explode. He took a deep breath, reminding himself to maintain his princely image. I'm the Mu family's little young master. This guy is just a part-time worker's son. So what if this loser awakened the fire element? Even trash gets lucky sometimes. What infuriated him more was the lightning element awakening in the adjacent class, which had completely overshadowed his ancestral ice element. Damn it, Mo Fan returned to his spot, savoring the newfound respect in his classmates' gazes. Fire element. We'd better not provoke him. Provoke. We should get closer to him. As a light element user, I'll need a fire element big brother to back me up. Right. What's his name again? Mo Fan. The whispers reached Mo Fan's ears, lifting his spirits even higher. He shot a glance at Mu Bai, whose face betrayed a flicker of displeasure. Mo Fan smirked. I've got your number, green tea man. Mu Bai was the epitome of hypocrisy. All smiles on the outside, seething with envy within. You're green with envy now that I've awakened the fire element. Just wait until you find out about my lightning element. You might just commit harakiri. Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 8. Really can't stop. The summer turned to autumn. Dead leaves whirled in the wind before finally settling on the school grounds. On the side of the school grounds stood a dense shade of trees. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, casting threads of light that resembled a stage set for autumn. For Mo Fan, time had passed quickly. It had already been 2 months since his awakening. During those 2 months, Mo Fan had done only one thing: sitting beneath this tree and meditating. On the first day of class, the homeroom teacher, Zhu Musheng, had given all the magic students a crucial lesson: the activation of magic. The activation of magic consisted of 3 simple steps. 1. Meditation. 2. Control. 3. Activation. Meditation, as the name implied, required one to focus their full attention. When a person closed their eyes, their mind often wandered into different scenes. However, if one emptied their mind and remained undisturbed, their consciousness would enter an empty space, a void. After the magic awakening, a star cluster corresponding to the awakened element would emerge within that void. For Mo Fan, this meant that as long as he closed his eyes, cleared his mind, and entered that dark, cosmos-like space, the star clusters of the lightning and fire elements would appear. The lightning element's star cluster was purple, resembling cosmic dust, magnificent and aesthetically pleasing. Within it were 7 stars, orbiting wildly like mischievous children running amok. For any awakened magic student, simply making the star cluster appear in the void and observing the bright, childlike stars within it meant completing the meditation step. This first step was deceptively simple. In fact, the student's homework for the first 2 months was just this: meditate after dinner until exhaustion, sleep, and repeat the next day. Mo Fan didn't slack off. He followed this routine diligently, even meditating on weekends. At times, he wondered why such a simple task was assigned for 2 whole months. What if I try control now? Since entering meditation came easily to him, Mo Fan grew eager to move on to the next step. The second step, control, was also straightforward in theory. After entering meditation, one could see the star cluster with its 7 lively, energetic stars orbiting frantically. Control meant using one's thoughts to halt these stars and position them into a designated arrangement, forming a star path. Once the star path was successfully formed, magic power would flow through it into the magician's body, manifesting as genuine magic upon activation. They sure run fast. Let this daddy catch you, Mo Fan muttered as he attempted to connect the stars. He focused his thoughts, trying to make one of the energetic stars stop in place. Whoosh! The star ignored him, darting away like a lowly fleeing from a suspicious uncle. Damn! They're playing hard to get. Fine. Let's try another one. Mo Fan shifted his attention to a different lightning element star. Be a good boy. Daddy's here. Come on, listen to me. The second star reacted as if it had encountered a mental patient, bolting away just like the first. Mo Fan repeated the process with the other stars, but the result was the same. None obeyed him. Some even sped up when they sensed his attempts to control them. Without stationary stars, magic power couldn't be conducted. It was like electricity in a wire. The energy resided within the star cluster, but to use it, one needed to connect the wires by aligning the stars into a path. Unfortunately, the lightning element stars were utterly unruly. The moment Mo Fan tried to link them, they scattered like hyperactive children on a sugar rush. How am I supposed to deal with this? How many years will it take for this daddy to learn lightning strike? Mo Fan groaned, rubbing his temples. The primary rank skill of the lightning element, lightning strike, was one of the most practical combat magics. Mastering it would grant him a significant edge. But learning it was no easy feat. The star's hyperactivity made controlling him a grueling task, not something achievable in a day or 2. I can't even control 1 star properly yet. Controlling 7 simultaneously. This road is going to be long. As the weather grew colder, short skirts and stockings gave way to thick leggings and pants. Winter had arrived in the south, bringing its usual misery to those without heaters. Aku damn it. If I'd known, I would have focused on the fire element first. At least I'd be warm now, Mo Fan grumbled, practicing control on the rooftop one chilly morning. Another month had passed, and Mo Fan could now manage up to 4 stars. The process. Imagine setting up an advanced domino arrangement. Each star had to be carefully placed, without the slightest wobble. If one slipped, the entire setup collapsed, forcing him to start over. The stars resisted fiercely. To stop one, Mo Fan had to concentrate his entire mind on it, enduring headaches and mental strain. Only by gritting his teeth could he force a star to obey. After securing one, he had to split his focus to control a second, without losing hold of the first. A moment's distraction, and both would escape, ruining all progress. As his teacher had warned, controlling stars is brutally hard. It demands precision, patience, and ample spiritual power. Practicing control drained Mo Fan's mana rapidly. After 2 hours, his mind would be fried, tinnitus ringing, vision blurring, thoughts scattering. At that point, further attempts were futile. Practicing control is like being a thief. No, worse, a mana waster. Mo Fan sighed. With his current reserves, 2 hours was his limit. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 9. The 7th star. 4 stars are firmly under my control now. The difficulty of controlling 5 at the same time is much harder. Mo Fan sighed and thought, I wonder if I can control all 7 of these scoundrels and form a star path before the end of the semester. Speaking of which, Monkey said that most people can only practice control for an hour every week. If they trained for an additional 5 minutes, they'd collapse. I wonder why I could practice for 2 hours when I first started. Is it because I awakened dual elements? The mana usage for taking control of a star should be the same. That means my mana capacity is double the amount of most other people. There was a limit to each magic student's spiritual force, and every time one attempted to control a star, it would deplete their spiritual force. Most of the current magic students' spiritual force levels only allowed 1 hour of control training. Having 1 more hour of practice, coupled with the great effort Mo Fan put into his daily training, allowed his cultivation speed to already surpass his peers by a lot. According to the henchman, even the most outstanding student in the class could only control 3 stars. Of the 7 stars, Mo Fan was already able to control 4 of them. Furthermore, he hoped to achieve 5 stars within the month. It seemed like awakening dual elements not only gave Mo Fan double the elements but also extended his practice time compared to other people. This was an incredible advantage. The time for him to enter the apex of his life and marry a fair-skinned, rich, and beautiful girl was just around the corner. The class started at 8 in the morning, and the first class was the Magical Beast Knowledge class. The one in charge of teaching the Magical Beast subject was the homeroom teacher of the class next door, Zhang Jianguo. Mo Fan, you are late again. Can't you improve your attitude towards school? Your talent has always been worse than the majority of the students. Your foundation is also particularly bad, and you're not even sincere about studying. Take a look at Zhao Ting in my class. He has the lightning element, a good talent, a good foundation, and his attitude towards studying magic is also very good. He is currently able to control 4 lightning element stars, whereas you, I heard that you still haven't been able to control a single fire element star. You awakening the fire element is simply a waste. Zhang Jianguo, seeing Mo Fan come in late, immediately began to reprimand him without holding back. Mo Fan couldn't help but give a conceited look. Teacher Zhang Jianguo really couldn't stop talking. He brought up that lightning element guy during practically every lesson. The so-called classmate Zhao Ting was the guy who awakened the lightning element during the school's opening ceremony. Zhang Jianguo talked about him every day. When he lectured someone using Zhao Ting's name, his face revealed the pride he tried to conceal. That guy can control 4 stars. This daddy can control 6 stars. I just need 1 last star, Mo Fan thought in disdain. He didn't say this out loud, though. Instead, he just walked to his seat at leisure. All right, please open the magical beast book. Today, I will continue to talk about the common magical beasts. As everyone knows, the magical beasts are located outside the city where we humans reside, and they're extremely hostile toward humans. They wander all over the place and fight when they encounter each other, as well. If a magician were to tread outside of the city and encounter a one-eyed magic wolf, then what should he do? Zhang Jianguo started lecturing with great delight. One-eyed magic wolf. This was the kind of magical beast that resided in the area closest to the human city. Mo Fan had only seen one through textbooks and videos. They had a vicious appearance. A normal person was unable to deal with this kind of creature. Only a mage was able to battle them. However, if a group of magic students who couldn't activate their magic were to meet a one-eyed magic wolf, then it would be a bloody massacre. The one-eyed magic wolf was the highlight of the magical beast classes. Zhang Jianguo had already spent a month talking about this type of magical beast, which by this point annoyed Mo Fan. Currently, Mo Fan relied on his double cultivation time to control 6 stars. As long as he could focus his mind, he could make the 6 stars obediently form a star path. The problem was, the 7th star was particularly difficult to control. It was like a chaste girl. Go soft and you'd suffer, go hard and she wouldn't listen. This made Mo Fan feel particularly anxious. I'm just bloody missing this one last step. Brother Fan, how is the cultivation progress of the fire element? Zhang Hao hastily asked as he saw Mo Fan sitting down. The same as before, Mo Fan answered leisurely. Fire element. Just like the rumors Zhang Jianguo had heard, Mo Fan was still unable to control a single fire element star. That was something he could do nothing about. He had invested all of his energy into the big shot lightning element student this entire semester. No way. It seems like your foundation really has affected your cultivation. I heard that Guy Mu Bai is already able to control 4 ice element stars. If he were to put even more effort in during his winter vacation, then he will most likely be able to activate the primary rank ice element skill, Ice Spiral, Zhang Hao said. I know, big brother, how are you not anxious at all? Let me tell you, he and his henchman Zhao Kunsen are already scheming a plan against you. Don't worry, let them come. Mo Fan's current mind was full of how to control the 7th star. Everything else was treated like air. Zhang Hao sighed. Just be careful. This semester is almost over. You should really do your best next semester. If you can't complete the magic activation during the next semester's end-of-term magic activation exam, then the school could find all kinds of excuses to force you to resign. The school semester quickly ended, and Mo Fan faintly felt the 7th star being moved by his sincerity. Damn it, cultivation is even harder than awaiting the presence of a goddess. Trying to communicate and pay my greetings every day and night, Mo Fan complained as he walked toward the school exit. Mo Fan had practically never left the school during the entire semester. He would spend 2 hours every day practicing control, and after that, 10 hours meditating. Afterward, he'd just go to class, eat his meals, and sleep without ceasing for a single day. Regardless of what happened, this semester was over. After the students received their winter semester assignments, each went their own way home to see their families. After exiting the school gates, Mo Fan subconsciously waited for the bus to go home. However, he quickly realized and became speechless. I almost forgot that Dad sold the house. I am essentially homeless now. Father Mo Jiaxing spent most of his time driving, which meant he didn't have time for a house. The homeless Mo Fan thought about this. It seems like it's time to see little aunt and pay a visit to Sin Chia. It had been half a year since he last saw Sin Chia. He wondered how she was doing at little aunt's place. I'll just go straight to her school to pick her up then. Mo Fan caught the bus heading toward her middle school. Sitting on the bus, Mo Fan had nothing to do, so he continued to practice control, too. See whether the seventh star would submit or not. Different elements had different stars, and each star had a different temperament. Some were easier to coax. Mo Fan only needed to spend a few nights sweet-talking them before they'd listen. However, some were especially violent and hard to deal with. If you weren't careful, you could suffer a rebound in your mind. That kind of rebound carried intense pain to the mind, and the usage of spiritual power would be several times greater. The seventh star that Mo Fan was unable to control belonged to the violent type. It didn't listen, attacked brutally, and was as difficult to accommodate as a great aunt. Fortunately, recently their relationship had advanced by leaps and bounds. The violent star was slowly showing a willingness to listen, otherwise Mo Fan would have really cried. He had spent almost an entire month on this seventh star. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 10 Release. Lightning Element. Come on, come, get in a line. Number off. Mo Fan calmed himself and put his full focus on once more attempting to control the seventh star. The first star was the most obedient one. After all, it had been caressed every day. As soon as Mo Fan issued a command, the star immediately stopped its lively movements, leaving it floating in the middle of the stardust. The second star seemed somewhat stubborn. It showed an unwillingness to cooperate, as it quickly followed the first star. Following behind them were the third, fourth, and fifth stars. The sixth star was extremely obedient. It eagerly ran to the formation. All right, there's only the last star left. Mo Fan put all of his focus, all of his spiritual powers, into the seventh star. The seventh star orbited at a high speed within the stardust before it heard Mo Fan's thoughts and gradually slowed down. It carried an impatience and unhappiness as it slowly took its place in the star path. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. As Mo Fan noticed the seventh star showing signs of submitting, he began to feel a slight excitement. The first 6 stars are like dogs. If you shout, then they'll obediently sit down, motionless. The 7th star was like a cat, freaking cold and impatient from head to toe. Since you want me to stay still, then I'll do my best to make it difficult for you. Slowly, slowly, the 7th star finally stopped in its tracks as it followed along the path of the other 6 stars. Star path complete. Magic. Appear. Mo Fan, who wore a black t-shirt, was sitting in the back row of the bus. He suddenly had a curved track curling around his body. A purple star dust trajectory flashed past, giving Mo Fan's body an indescribable force. Lightning strike. It's lightning strike. Mo Fan's heart gave rise to a wild excitement. He couldn't help but want to laugh toward the sky. Buzz. On his right fist an arc of lightning coiled around his arm like a python. The force of the purple lightning fist was stored within Mo Fan's hand. If he were to brandish his hand, lightning would be sent toward the middle of the bus. Oh my god. Mage. It's a mage. It's a lightning element mage. Ah, why do I feel my entire body turning numb? A surprised voice was heard from within the bus. The older auntie who finished her round of shopping, the old man who finished exercising, the young girl who was playing on her phone with her head lowered, as well as the pervert who was molesting the girl with the phone were all stunned as they saw at Mo Fan at the back of the bus. Great, great mage. I promise I won't do this again. I beg of you, please spare me. I have eyes but couldn't see Mount. Tai. Suddenly, the middle-aged man who was molesting the young girl yelled out as he kneeled down, his face covered in tears as he begged for forgiveness from Mo Fan. The middle-aged pervert thought the young mage had seen his own vulgar behavior, enraged him, and caused him to activate his lightning abilities. This lightning force was extremely terrifying. All of the people on the bus were intimidated by the lightning force, causing them to feel numb all over, especially the pervert who molested the young girl. His hands were numb to the point where he couldn't feel anything. I'll spare your dog life. If I catch you doing it again, I'll immediately make you lose the use of your hands. Mo Fan stood up after understanding the situation. His aura was cold as he looked down on the pervert. Yes, I won't do it again, definitely. After saying this, the pervert frantically escaped from the bus as the driver halted. The surrounding aunties and uncles immediately reacted with praise. A few evident middle school girls looked at Mo Fan in admiration. Mom, that older brother is incredible. Am I able to become as unbelievable as him in the future? An 8-year-old child dragged at his mother's skirt and asked faintly. Becoming a mage is not something anyone can do, especially a lightning element mage. Mo Fan realized his magic had caused a huge uproar within the bus. In order to avoid the disturbance, Mo Fan quickly departed. After exiting, Mo Fan's heart was the same as before, unable to calm down. Sheet, that is so freaking cool. Recalling the lightning strike twirling around his arm and the dreadful feeling of being able to easily eliminate a person was unprecedented. It was like a dream. This is magic. This is magic. Mo Fan's heart throbbed incessantly. Even though he didn't activate Lightning Fist, Mo Fan could still feel the might of the lightning force. It came from within his body. He could control it, and it brought a strength he never considered before. The reverence everyone on board of the bus directed at him, the pervert who was kneeling on the floor, begging for forgiveness, and the mysterious lightning force that spiraled around his fist. This really is an inconceivable. Ha 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 ha. I have learned the lightning strike, and I only needed a semester to do so. I want to see how you guys are going to stand in my way now. Mu Bai, Zhao Ting, all of them will have to kneel before me. Mo Fan was able to control Lightning Fist in just a semester. The fact is, the school gave the students 1 year to complete this ability. From the beginning of the school year to the end of the semester, Mo Fan had only used 5 months' worth of his available time. If this speed was known publicly, then his classmates and teacher, or even the students and teachers of the entire school, would be completely dumbstruck. It seemed like the student who was favored by the magical beast teacher, Zhang Jianguo, had reached the control of 4 stars not too long ago. Mu Bai was at the same level as him. Ha ha ha. This daddy has already activated Lightning Fist. How can you, Mu Bai, a green tea man, compete against me? I can feel the power of the lightning force being released from its spiral around my arm. I wonder what it'd be like if I were to truly release it. Just thinking about it makes me want to yell out in excitement. Deep breath, deep breath. I'll look like an idiot if I laugh in the middle of the road. I need to be calm. I am an incredible mage. Mo Fan actually wanted to use Lightning Strike one more time, but after he had finished the Lightning Strike earlier, his body began to feel empty and dizzy. This is probably the spiritual exhaustion that the teacher mentioned, right? Mo Fan asked himself. Generally speaking, Mo Fan could maintain 2 hours of practicing control. He would only feel spiritual exhaustion after 2 hours. He had only practiced control for 20 minutes when he was on the bus. However, in the moment he completed Lightning Strike, he felt his spiritual force being completely drained. Mo Fan still understood this point. While he was practicing control, he wouldn't complete the star path. Normally speaking, that wouldn't use too much mana. However, if he completed the star path and channeled the star force into his body, thus achieving the true effect of magic, then the majority of the mana would be gone. I've never been a mage before, but I've played all sorts of games like League of Legends, or The Legend of Mir. They all follow the same logic. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.